Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson off for giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith, and Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be based on this Minneapolis Catholic school shooting that took place, which, as you can see from the headline, 2 children were killed and 17 people were injured. Just more severe judgment from the Lord, more sore strokes from the Lord. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read some of this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will you're edified. Alright, it says, what we know so far. A shooter fired through the windows of a church in Minnesota this morning, killing 2 children, 14 other children, and 3 elderly parishioners were wounded while marking the first week of class at Annunciation Catholic School. The FBI identified the shooter, who is dead, as Robert Westman, 23. The suspect graduated from the school in 2017, according to a yearbook. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said Westman released a manifesto on YouTube that included some disturbing writing. And this is what happens. These Edomites, this is what they do. They are the wicked, man. 9 times out of 10, you hear about a mass shooting, it's going to be an Edomite, more than likely shooting up a school. But you always have to keep in mind that this is also the judgment of the Lord. 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. You look up the definition of perilous, it means full of danger or risk. It means unsafe. It means savage, hazardous times. And clearly, with all the shootings going on, in particular, the shootings, we're living in a very dangerous time. And, more and more parents are going to be left mourning and weeping because their children are getting slain in these schools. And here it is, kids be so excited to go back to school, be with their friends, and then this is what ends up happening. The judgments of the Lord, the wrath of the Lord gets brought upon them. And there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it, because these sort of events are going to keep taking place. But they're not going to be limited just to schools. There's going to be grocery stores, parties, amusement parks, restaurants. These type of shooting events are going to just increase. Romans 2:11. For there is no respect of persons with Yahweh. And this is evidence of that. This, once again, another school shooting. 2 children got killed. A couple of children got wounded. And some of these elderly parishioners were wounded as well. So the, children, the elderly, man, woman, it doesn't matter. The Lord, He is no respecter of persons. He gets whoever it is that He wants. A lot of people think that because, those children were, because they were children, that they didn't deserve to get caught up in the judgment. But what they don't understand is that the Lord targeted those kids because this was His judgment upon them. See, a lot of people have a very warped mindset when it comes to the Lord. They don't understand that the Heavenly Father is the orchestrator of all of these judgments. These judgments are not random. Psalms 9:16, the Lord Yahweh is known by the judgment which He executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands, Higgaion Selah. So this shooting, as horrible as it was the judgment of the Heavenly Father. And you have these simple-minded people that talk about, everybody, who's like religious, they pray to the Lord and all of that, but they're like, where is the Lord when judgments like this happen? Well, He was in the midst of the judgment. He's the reason why this judgment happened. Zephaniah 3:5, the just Lord Yahweh is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doth He bring His judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. Yeah, so the Lord was in the midst of this shooting that took place upon that school/church. That, like it says, He will not do iniquity. And you look up the definition of iniquity, it means wickedness. So the Lord bringing such sore judgment upon those people at that church, those children and those elderly parishioners, that was not wickedness. That was a righteous judgment brought upon those whom the Lord deemed to be wicked and deserving of such a judgment. Deuteronomy 32:39. See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. And a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people don't understand that the Heavenly Father deals with balance. He kills and He wounds. He makes alive and He heals. A lot of people only, want to talk about God in the sense of, want to talk about the Lord in the sense of, he heals and He protects and, the good side. They only want to talk about that, but they don't want to talk about the other side where the Lord kills and wounds people and causes destruction. The Lord flooded the world. He brought fire and brimstone down upon Sodom and Gomorrah. The Lord, He will kill people. And for whatever reason, people just don't want to wrap their head around that. They don't want to accept that the Lord does both things. And, due to yet another of these events, these shootings, people are once again having the gun control conversation. But as myself and other brothers have been saying, it doesn't matter, what the government tries to do as far as gun control is concerned, because the judgments of the Lord are always going to take place. If the Lord wants the judgment to be in the form of a shooting, then somebody, somehow, some way is going to get a hold of a gun and execute that judgment. Because that's the will of the Lord. And this is the thing. A lot of people don't understand that there is no going around the will of the Lord. If the Lord wants some judgment to take place, it's going to happen. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. Doesn't matter how many carnal human laws you try to put into place to prevent things like this from happening. If the Heavenly Father wants it to happen, it's going to happen. There is no stopping it. That's why it says, neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So it doesn't matter what kind of laws get put in place, doesn't matter how many security guards and police officers or National Guard you put outside of schools and churches. It doesn't matter. It's just like how here in New York, they have a bunch of like, what was it? Was it National Guard or police officers or whoever that they were putting in these subway stations? Because a lot of people are getting like stabbed up and robbed in the subways, you know, and so they put national guards in the subways and police officers in the subway stations, and the judgment still happened because that was the will of the Lord. The Lord is always going to make a way for his judgments to play out. And unfortunately for those kids, the judgment was brought upon them. 1 Samuel 2:6. The Lord Yahweh killeth and maketh alive. He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. And that's right. So those two children who died in that shooting, ultimately, the Heavenly Father killed them. The Heavenly Father is the one who put the spirit on that 23-year-old to shoot into that school or that church or whatever it was, school, church, and to kill those kids and to wound those others. And that's how you know that a lot of people really don't know the scriptures. Because if they did, they wouldn't keep asking why these judgments happen. Job 4:7. Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? And the answer is that nobody has ever perished being innocent, nor were the righteous ever cut off. Those children were not innocent. Those two children that died, they were not innocent. And I know that sounds harsh, but the scriptures are letting you know that the scriptures are asking the question, whoever perished being innocent? And people think that because they were children, that makes them innocent, but that's not how that works. The Heavenly Father decides who's innocent and who's not. And just because it's a child doesn't automatically make them innocent. Verse 8, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. And people ask, well, they were children. What could they have done wrong? But this is where reincarnation usually comes into play. Because the scriptures tell us that every third or fourth generation, we are brought back to live out our judgment. You die, you go to the spirit world, the Heavenly Father judges you, and then every third or fourth generation that passes, you get sent back upon the earth to live out whatever judgment the Heavenly Father had in store for you. That's why some people are born blind or deaf or disformed in some way. That was the judgment of the Lord. You came back in this life and received your judgment early. And a lot of people, like I said, they can't wrap their head around that. Even if you break it down to the simplest form, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to believe that. And that's a lot of people's problem. They keep resisting the understanding. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Verse 2, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And for those two children, it was their time to die. And people want to say, oh, they were in that school, they were praying, they weren't doing anything wrong. Doesn't matter. It does not matter that if in the moment they weren't doing anything wrong. In the eyes of the Lord, they were wicked and he brought judgment upon them. And a lot of people, they get so up in their feelings, that they don't want to accept the reality. It's like, obviously, losing your child is not fun for anybody, and it's a very serious and emotional time. But that doesn't mean that you can't look at things from a spiritual point of view. And that's the problem. People don't do that. They just live in their bubble of carnality, and they only see things from a carnal perspective, and they want to blame the guns and be like, oh, if we didn't have guns, we wouldn't have these problems. And it's like, no, people would still get killed because the judgment of the Lord would still go out. It would just happen in a different way. Take away the guns, there's many other ways where somebody could kill another person or multiple people. So it's not like you take away the guns and all of a sudden, people are going to stop dying. That's never how it's going to play out, And like I said, while this is a very serious situation and it's a horrible time for everyone who was involved, at the end of the day, this was the will of the Lord. And like it says in Ecclesiasticus 39:28, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes, and in the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. That 23-year-old who executed that judgment was a spirit of vengeance used by the Lord. Plain and simple. And like I said, as tragic as this is, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again and again and again until ultimately the Lord destroys this place. See, those of us of the hopeful elect, we understand that. These wicked people, they don't understand that. They're always asking, when is all of this going to stop? It's going to stop once this place is destroyed. Once the kingdom of heaven is established. Once these wicked people are put into chains. And I'm talking about these Edomites, these so-called self-proclaimed white people. That's when these type of things are going to stop. Because there ain't going to be any school shootings in the kingdom. There's not going to be any type of shootings in the kingdom. But here, yeah, there's going to be a lot of them, a lot more of them. A lot more kids are going to lose their parents. A lot more parents are going to lose their children. This is just what's going to happen. And those of us of the hopeful elect, we understand that. And we just stay prayed up and ask that the Heavenly Father continues to keep his hedge of protection over us and our loved ones. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakudash, Dawadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are still fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up. And Adawan Ratazah. Until next time, Shalom.